Welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm your host, Ian Carlos Crawford, and joining me is my lovely co-host, author of Surrender Your Sons,
Adam Sass.
Hi, Adam.
Hi, Mimi. Well, joining us today, we have got three fabulous guests, and I will jump into them right now because we have lots to discuss on this very, very, very thick episode. Freelance writer of the Garbage Day newsletter,
Ryan Broderick.
Hi, Ryan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And then we're not done with freelance yet. Freelance entertainment journalist and comic creator.
Oh, Stephanie Williams. Wow. Messed that right on up.
It's good to have you back. And then last but not least, senior content manager for Penguin Random House Children's Division.
Ooh, it's Aaron Reese. I love
That's a title. That's a title, Aaron. Oh my gosh, that's how you do a title. All right, so we are all here today to discuss what's the show? So,
We're here to discuss episode 2 of Falcon and Winter Soldier.
That's right.
I will say, this episode did pick up.
It did.
We talked about it a little before recording. The show feels a little dry, but this episode definitely, I liked it a zillion times better than episode. I found this like immediately more interesting. I mean, just putting them together, the like, oh no, I hate you, did like get a little tired after a bit, but it was more dynamic once they're together because it's like, I don't know, right? It's like, oh, that's the team.
You're dating again, and you had one date that maybe wasn't so amazing, but you're kind of a little like you need some attention right now, and the second one is picking up. So yeah, you're sticking with it for a round. That's how I feel.
For now.
We'll I love that there's
see.
only like 4 more episodes. There's really no more lift smaller than that. And I'm like, you know what? Okay. Yeah.
So the episode starts with Johnny Walker practicing his Captain America shtick. And I found that charming. I don't like him, but I was like, oh, because I thought like, so we know that he turns into U.S. agent in the comics. I'm sure that's where they are going with this. And I was like, oh, okay. Are we going to make him likable? Is it going to be like he's charming and he just got stuck in this? Granted, that is not where this went, but that's what I thought we were going. Because I was like, oh, they're giving her they're giving
they're giving this queen a little,
Wait, I think we gotta also point out that before we get into this, that is Kurt Russell's son, which I did not realize.
Yeah,
so weird, right?
Yeah.
Super weird.
His daddy James just said, I'll just give you a little sprinkle here, and Mama took over.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Casey Neistat, the son of Kurt Russell.
It's weird that they did him so dirty with that helmet because he's attractive, but when he has that helmet on, I don't know what is going on.
I'm saying he looks like Mr. Six. He looks like the Six Flags old man. It's a little squishy face.
Oh, wow. He does look like the Six Flags old man.
Oh, you know what, Adam? Okay, I have to leave. I will not be on this podcast.
I will remove myself.
Time.
We will edit you out.
Wow.
Yeah. That's the thing. No, I was watching it with my husband, and he doesn't know Marvel. He doesn't know actors. If you said Kurt Russell, he'd be like, I think I maybe know who that is. But he'd like point to John Johnson or something like that. But like he was like, who? Like at the end of the first episode, U.S. agent guy comes out and he was like, who's that old man? Like he like thought it was an old man. He really is from the mouth of babes. Like he will say it like it is. Yeah.
So Adam, check my Twitter in about 5 minutes.
There we go. But yeah, I also do want to say this is also Goldie Hawn's son. I want to realign who we're saying son this is. You know, we don't always need to say Kurt Russell's son, even though he kind of like, you know, looks like him a little bit more.
It's Goldie all up and through that face.
It's Goldie, yeah.
It just, something about his mouth profile looks like he wears dentures.
He looks like he's dipping all the time.
No, he normally is bearded. The beard works. When they shave him, then his like jaw issues kind of come out.
And the audacity for like cishet straight men to say that women employ witchcraft with makeup because
because the beard does a lot of lifting.
Well, so we meet his wife. I think it's his wife, right? Not girlfriend.
Wife, yes.
Ciao.
Stephanie, you have a rebuttal?
I absolutely do. I love how they introduced this character so that we know for damn sure that he has hashtag Black Lives Matter in his Twitter bio. Because when I see her come back there, I was like, oh no. So not only does he have a black best friend, because that guy comes in soon, Lamar Hoskins comes in, Battlestar, and I was quite surprised because I'm like, wow, you all gave him the same energy he has in the comics from like 94. I was like, okay. So yes, he has, a little, press and curl wife and best friend.
Is she on the Just For Me box?
Yes.
The Delio. So that was actually my next. I was like, they definitely gave him the wife and best friend to be like, look, he's not racist, but like,
well, that's the thing, and which will be revealed later in that juicy, dramatic G Pride, back of the G Pride, which I could rewatch. That was some editing for me. Yeah, that was some filmmaking.
Yeah.
I will go into that in greater detail, but this guy right away for me telegraphed government team player, and that is backed up time and time again.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's weird because they were definitely doing this to make us maybe like him, but it all felt so on purpose. I don't know. It didn't. It was like they were like, "Ooh, we know that people are gonna like be like, who the fuck is this new Cap? So let's like 70s. I'd give him like, oh, he has Black Lives Matter in his profile. He's cool." But like,
and they gave him this little Friday Night Lights backstory.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah. It was like missing the glory days kind of thing, which drove me further away. I was every new detail of this guy that's meant to endear him. I don't know if it's working on purpose, if this is supposed to be this way, but I am driven further and further and further out to see every time they reveal a new thing about this guy.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I feel like I can't. So Marvel is incapable of having a coherent political stance about anything. So I can't tell if the details about him are meant to make me like him or dislike him. Like I can't tell if this is, he's a former football player, of course he's a fascist, or is it he's a former football player, he couldn't be a fascist. Like I don't understand what they're trying to tell me.
I feel like each kind of writer kind of comes in, if a stamp kind of goes in there, I feel like they intentionally like paint over it with whatever the opposite political stance is. So it kind of gets a little gobbledygooky there. Like there was somebody on Twitter who was making a point. I'm just gonna be one of those people who's like, it was a tweet somewhere, I don't know, but but there was something where we're saying like definitely seems to be the Marvel thing to bring in villains who sort of look and behave alt-right but have radical left talking points.
Yeah.
Right. Like our anarchist bad guys who are
right. Like our flag smashers who are like, we don't want borders. And I was like,
yeah. Wait a minute. They, I think, are the good guys.
Like Marvel's first like major Latinx character in a while. Like these people don't like borders. I was just like, oh, don't make him say this.
I mean,
right.
I feel like what's so deeply insidious, and yes, I am sticking with insidious about his introduction, is I would almost akin this to Umbridge in Harry Potter, right? Like I feel like Dolores Umbridge is one of the most terrifying villains because she's one of the most realistic ones that I feel like I've ever seen. And his energy very much so gives me like, hey, your company was bought out by another company, so here's our new CEO. And like the vision that he wants to like have the entire company align on, but everything he says is a veiled threat for termination if you do not comply with,
Wait, are you saying U.S. agent is the you don't need a union, we're family here guy?
Absolutely.
He's Amazon News' social content manager who's like, well, tell me you believe that whole pissing in jars story, even though it's backed up legally.
We will slack you outside of work hours because that's how much you love the job.
Well, Ryan, I know what you're referencing.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm just talking about superheroes.
So we also meet Sarah Haynes from The View. She's in the MCU as herself. That was a
missed opportunity not having that be Megan McCain.
She's working with U.S. Agent, so
that would have been too clearly telling. We would have all been just like, okay, I see her.
Yeah. Megan McCain, she brings up her dad while interviewing this new Captain America.
That never-ending story, childlike empress, like pull back hair. She's got
it. So she interviews him. I did wonder, Steph and Aaron, as the comic experts, does U.S. Agent, is he a super soldier in the comics? Isn't he?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, because that's what I thought. I was surprised when they I just assumed he was, but he explicitly says he's not, right? Like he says he doesn't have superpowers, which, I mean, granted, I feel like they'll get there, but I thought it was weird that they would pick just this normal dude, because he probably would die fighting by himself.
Isn't it is the super soldier serum, it doesn't exist anymore, right? Like that was right in the MCU,
right.
It doesn't exist, right? Like they couldn't, they tried to recreate, and that's how we got Hulk and etc.
Yeah, so for him, the power broker who they introduced in what was that, the first episode? That's who he, Lamar, and a bunch of other people get augmented superhuman strength or something like that to be wrestlers or some shit. So yeah.
I did not realize that.
I sort of suspect, though, we're building up to the obvious, he's going to take the super soldier serum, but he won't be good like Steve Rogers, and it'll make him bad or worse. I sort of think that's where we're headed with this whole thing.
Yeah, it'll be like Jessica Jones.
Yep.
So I believe in the comics, the Jessica Jones character is related to the same program that produces U.S. Agent, but I'm not totally clear on that. But I think they are linked in some way.
There's definitely going to be a we got to get the shield from that guy moment.
Yeah, I mean, well, the weird thing is that, okay, so here's a gripe that I had throughout both episodes, is a lot of the, WandaVision, those reveals there was no reveals in the trailer, but in the trailer for this, we've seen Sam throwing that shield. We know he's gonna get it. We knew this guy was the new Captain America. We knew Baron Zemo was coming in. So I feel like episode 3, the reveal is gonna be, wow, Sharon Carter's here, even though she's on the fucking poster. I don't know why they're doing that when it's yeah, but we know this already. We know they're going to have to see Zemo. We knew he was coming into this. He's been billed as a main character. Yeah, so I don't know why they're having the reveals be stuff that was in the trailer.
There's going to be some straight boy YouTubers right now who are just going to be yeah, this is exactly what we wanted from WandaVision, which is to be told what to expect, be shown it, and then be told what you just saw.
The crowd that's supported by a 2-in-1 body wash. So
no, it's actually 6-in-1.
It's conditioner, shampoo, body wash,
lotion,
all of the above, which is no problem. I mean, essentially, why should you ask what's in a super soldier serum when you partake in such chemicals in your body?
Yeah, it's definitely the if you use this, don't worry about what's in the vaccine. Yeah,
but I do find Marvel's just explanations for the super soldier serum quite fascinating, in the sense that they don't really. I feel in the comics there are very extreme limitations to what the serum does, and in the movies you don't know. And Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know, in the comics, it's very much descriptive as, you are supposed to have the physical acumen of, an Olympian-level athlete, but you shouldn't be throwing, buses around.
Well, but yes and no. It depends on the writer. So Steve's strength or whatever, varies, because at one time he can, pick up an entire bus. And actually, he's supposed to be very strong. And then sometimes, you're supposed to just be above an elite athlete. So it depends. And then also with John Walker in the comics, he actually ends up beating Captain America because his augmentation strength is supposed to be stronger. So it really honestly depends on the writer.
And I'm pretty sure in the MCU they've set it up so that it expands based on like the emotions of Steve Rogers. So I think like there's a line, I think it's either in like Infinity War or Endgame or one of them, where it's like as he wants to go and become stronger because he needs, like, it will adapt to that, which is I think how they've like backwritten the fact that his powers are all out of control across the whole franchise. He has anime main character powers. That's what it is.
That actually was a thing when I was a kid that I didn't understand about Captain America, because his strength was like all over the place in the comics, especially like when I started reading the early 90s. Sometimes it felt like he was just like, a dude who was like a little bit stronger than a regular like fit guy. But then sometimes it was like, ooh, he has super, like you said, Stephanie. Sometimes it'd be like, oh, he could pick up a truck. But other times it's like he would go punch for punch with like a regular, just like muscle guy, and he couldn't like just knock them out with one punch. So I never like quite understood that, because now correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Black Widow at one point also get the super soldier serum in the comics?
Ooh, no? Question mark? Or maybe?
That sounds familiar in a weird way.
She did take an enhancement like thing in the Ultimate like timeline.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
But I don't think it was a super. I don't think it was a serum. But I think it was something like akin to it that just kind of gave her a nice boost. But the Ultimate comics were wild. And that's when Tony Stark and the Wasp had a whole sex tape.
Oh, yeah. Wait, isn't the Ultimate line also where Quicksilver and Wanda were hooking up?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I told someone about that during one of our WandaVision episodes, and it was like, wait, what? And I was like, no, that's not a joke. They are like, because she dies and they're like kissing, right? When she gets like shot.
Yeah. Comics, guys.
They have like Property Brothers energy,
Oh my God. You know what? Yes. Absolutely.
Well, now you said it, Ryan.
And I will never forget it.
Oh my God.
But like she does take super soldier serum or whatever, and it is during that very weird time.
Okay.
I feel like we're dealing with so many super soldiers. I feel like we're getting close to just being like, all right, can we just start maybe saying some of them are mutants and they're just strong?
We can never have enough mutants.
Let's just say, there we go. They're mutants now. They came back different. Yep.
So getting back to so Sarah Hayes interviews him. The new Johnny Walker says like, Steve Rogers feels like he was a brother to me, which is like, so that was like the first like thing he said out loud that was like a total red flag. I was like, ooh, but he is not. And I feel like, I'm sure some of you have, been on when I've had I love the MCU Steve Rogers. I found the comic Steve Rogers boring when I used to read the comics, but it has retroactively made me like Captain America more. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that I want to do dirty things with Chris Evans, but also marry him. So I felt like I kept getting mad the way Sam and Bucky were. Like I would feel like every time he was like, oh, but I really, Steve Rogers, I'd be like, no, you don't. You don't know Steve Rogers.
Listen,
shut up.
This show doesn't work for me a lot of times, but it works 1000% of the time. Every time Sam and or Bucky are like looking at this new Captain America with a big sourpuss on.
Yeah.
Especially Bucky.
Yeah. Oh, Bucky. Yeah. And when he's like in his apartment watching this shit on TV, this guy running his mouth about this friend, like, and it's one of those things where this has to be making his travel worse.
Wait, can we talk about how Bucky literally has like the sitting in a lawn chair in a bare apartment, every man's like horrible Reddit photo room?
Yeah.
Like he's sitting on the floor of a completely unfurnished apartment watching a flat screen TV. It's perfect.
But you know what? You know what that tells me? That Mr. Bucky with the Wakandan arm, you're going to make a sacrifice to go, come visit and be on the floor for a little bit.
Stephanie, same thought process, because you know that he lays it down if he has that stupid fucking like sheet in his living room floor.
Well, here's the thing. He can always host, but you're going to have to deal with there's nothing in the fridge. Right.
Yeah, I'll be like, you want a cup of water?
Bring your own hydration.
Bro. I'm like, can he host? Like, I would be scared of being shot.
But that's how. But Aaron, again, that's how you know, because it's you risking your life.
Steph, you are absolutely right. I do think that we can actually say, and I know the queens use this word too loosely, but I think we can clarify Bucky as straight. I think that's acceptable.
I was thinking, a touch of bi, but I think you'd be into if you said, I bought this strap today. Would you be interested in that?
Okay.
See, Ryan, I'm curious your straight guy opinion. What do you think? Do you read him as queer at all?
Bucky?
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. I feel like he has like just an incredible chemistry with Chris Evans, and like that is just like there's a thing there. I don't feel that sort of connection with other male characters when he's around. Like I don't feel like I don't know. And he does have really nice chemistry with the woman at the bar. So maybe he's like pan. I don't know what his deal is. But he's not. I don't think he's like a straight guy. Like he's not like Falcon, who's like a straight guy.
Oh,
you
even put like a hand accidentally near his behind. He's asking you in his deepest voice possible. What are you doing back there?
Like Sam has worn Axe body spray before.
Oh my God.
He still does.
No.
I also think Falcon is probably the type though that like still slaps his teammates' ass while they're playing basketball because it's sanctioned in that space.
Right.
See, I think, I read them very much. I mean, we will get there, but like later on, it feels like Bucky has queer energy to me. But again, I say this all the time, I don't want to give that credit to any of the writers. I don't think the writers are intentionally being like, ooh, he's queer. Like, I don't think that's what that is. I think it's just like...
But this whole episode had like 3 moments of being way too cute with the, we think Bucky and whoever Bucky's in a scene with is gay. Like, there was like, they were rolling on top of each other. There was that moment. They were slinking little knees together. Yeah.
You know what I think Bucky's sexuality is like? It's kind of like the band My Chemical Romance.
All right, now you're talking my language. Keep going.
Oh, God.
It can be claimed as queer, but it is just as like aggro masculine in some sense as like other emo bands. But it's like that one that can exist in both spaces. That's how I would classify Bucky.
Huh, all right,
that's fair.
I could see that.
Right?
It's
all accidental. It's all accidental. Like it's all we're doing just to get through these episodes. Just to be like, oh, there was a moment where they whatever.
Did you see their legs?
She said they were doing couples counseling. Wink. Yeah.
But I also think like Marvel's working very hard to try to like remove Bucky from that fan discourse and have been ever since basically Infinity War, which is a shame because I wish they would just like leave the character alone and let it do whatever it needed to do.
Well, they chopped his hair, so they gave him a straight haircut. Okay.
I'm upset about that. Because, I mean, he grew that because his hair, when he was in Wakanda, like all that work down the drain.
Okay.
Just, it's gone.
The shine.
I hate this show.
I will say, I think that Sebastian Stan is so handsome. I think both work for him. Like, I like the long hair, but I like the short hair. I'm like, sure, whatever. I'll still go to your apartment. Doesn't matter what your hair looks like.
Short hair really zooms in on his crow's feet, and I'm just like, baby.
He's 100 years old, though. You know, like he's gonna get crow's
also that.
I love the characterization of him like as a 100-year-old man, and I think every joke about it is funny. I don't care.
No.
I think it's great. I think it's so charming.
It's one of those things with that haircut. It ages him, and I would say it to every single person on set. I'd be like, I get rid of it. It ages you.
Adam's the mean queen on set. Like, I see those crow's feet.
No, I'm the mean queen. I'm not doing it to like break him down, like take him down a peg. I'm doing it to be like, listen, if you just went back to the way you were doing things, you'd have a better situation going on anyway.
Yeah.
Get the Kiehl's avocado thing. We all get it. It is cheap.
The show needs its hair, is what I'm saying.
Right.
So we get the confrontation of Bucky goes to see Falcon. I don't really remember how he knows where he is. I guess just because he's working with the military. They have their talk. Falcon's really like, Falcon doesn't want to engage with him. Falcon seems, I don't quite get their friendship because they kind of hate each other they hated each other in Civil War. There's that line where they're like both laying on the ground after Spider-Man's like webbed them, and I think it's Falcon who's like, I still don't like you. Like they've never been like friends.
They're friends-in-law. They're like when George and Elaine had to go out on a lunch, right?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
My God,
yes.
I'm so happy I understand the reference.
Yes, that's exactly what's happening.
Steph, I thought you were going to drag me in.
No, I own all of the Seinfeld DVDs.
Oh, I love Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
It's like how Adam and I talk. That's our love language is Seinfeld.
No, without Elaine, but like without Elaine, I would say millennial gays don't have a way of speaking online anymore. Like we really owe a lot of our dimensionality to her. So there we go.
Yeah, it's true. But so Falcon says they've got to be one of the big he tells Bucky that there's the big three: wizards, androids, and aliens. They do the thing that I don't know why the MCU continues to do this, but Bucky's like, wizards don't exist, and he's like very adamant about that. And Falcon's like, Doctor Strange, and he's like, he was a sorcerer, not a wizard. And I'm like, what are we arguing about here?
Yeah, it's a strange thing to say, especially coming off WandaVision.
It is very meta because the way that they approach and talk about magic is so haphazard anyway.
It's a joke that I feel like the writer's room was like, absolutely put that in. That is chef's kiss. We absolutely love this. And it's very predictable. It's very phase 1, phase 2, which the show kind of feels like a little bit. So, yeah, I'm not at all surprised. And they ran it into the ground. And I knew like the moment that was brought up, I was like, this is going to be a thing. And I'm going to hear it like the rest of the remaining episodes.
So to me, it's a perfect example of something that's been bothering me about this show, which is that like the show should be like a 90s style, like Bad Boys, Lethal Weapon, Die Hard, like classic banter. People don't get along and they're just going to like get it done. And then you're going to fall in love with them because of that conflict. This show thinks that's what it's doing, but there's no like heart to the center of it. So all the jokes just sound like jokes. But if you think about them, then you're like, that's not a joke. And it's like they're LARPing as one of those movies, but they're not actually doing any of the required work to make me like the banter, which is frustrating because I want it to be good, but I don't think it is.
That was a good use of LARPing, right?
Yeah, like it just feels like there's like a hollowness there where it's like, oh, that's so funny. You guys have like an inside joke, but wait, it's not even a joke. It's just you're just saying the same thing.
It's just one of those like kind of half joke things that's kind of like the biggest sign of life currently in the show, and you could tell because they have cut it into every trailer featurette of the show. Right. They're like, this is where everybody starts to drop the long face for a second. But like I did enjoy the detail of Bucky being an original reader of The Hobbit back in the 30s.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed that too.
I was like, that's a detail. Now we're adding. Yeah.
Like Ryan said, I do think all the like him being 100 like references and jokes, I think that works. And if they want to like inject, I don't know if they like, that's an injection of humor that I do like. Yeah. Like him saying that he read the original, like, that's funny and also makes sense because he is that old, right? Like more of that, less of like denying wizards exist when we have Doctor Strange. And like they all fought the same battle in Endgame. What were those portals that brought them there? Like, come on, dickhead.
Yeah, they've all met.
Yeah. I mean, that was, and I brought this up before, that was a thing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did in season 1, where Ruth Negga played a woman that like, you thought she was a telepath, and the agents were all like, that can't be real. That can't exist. And then at the end, the reveal was she wasn't. She just like, I don't know, hacked something or something. And it was like, why are we stressing so much that a telepath can't exist in a world where like an alien invasion straight up happened and they know Thor, Hulk, and Iron Man and Captain America exist? Like that seems like a world where you'd be like, I don't know, maybe there is a telepath.
They all exist now because someone traveled through time with the talking raccoon, and they all got the stones to wish them all back. Like, and what are we doing here?
Like this world's 9/11 is an alien invasion, and this world's coronavirus is half the galaxy disappearing for 5 years. Like we're done with this now. We can all accept that robots and aliens and wizards exist.
I don't get it.
It's mind-boggling boggling.
Yeah, because like I could buy if they were like, oh look, the news is saying that can exist, but like the superheroes should all be like, yeah, sure, probably. Like, yes, it's probably an alien. Yes, it's probably yes, it's probably a wizard. I don't fucking know, right? Like anything goes when you're in this universe. I feel like, especially at this point when we've already done Endgame, just like keep moving. Be like, okay, sure, where do we fight the wizard? But so Bucky insists on going with Falcon on this mission. They're going to like a Flag Smashers headquarters. They do their little. I said this before, but sometimes the bickering works, sometimes it doesn't. I thought it was like funny when he's like, a little time in Wakanda and you become White Panther to Bucky, and Bucky corrects him, was like, oh, he's White Wolf, because like Bucky doesn't get what he's joking about, and Bucky was like, I did spend time in Wakanda and they called me White Wolf. Like shit, like, oh, he's 100-year-old dude and he doesn't get sarcasm or he doesn't get like references. That makes sense. But yeah, so they're bickering, the flagsmith, they think there's a hostage, they follow them, and hands up, I thought this was one of the best fight scenes, better than the fight scenes we had in the first episode, on top of this truck.
It's good.
I also wanted to like backtrack real quick just for like 1 second and say I really, really enjoyed the energy Sam was bringing, which is not a sentence I usually utter a lot, but like I liked the energy he was bringing in the warehouse, where he was kind of bringing this like more detective energy, where he was like, we don't need to run in here and start cracking people's skulls, which is something that the MCU needs like very badly, to be like, hey, why don't we like stand here and wait and see where they're going and actually suss this out before we start like going in and like just, ripping everybody apart.
Punching. Right.
Which contrasts with his opening up the first episode where he's like literally murdering people left and right.
I love the mixing of the archetypes where like the crabby old guy is the one who wants to just punch everybody, and then like the young like funner guy is like the tech guy who's like doing investigating work. Like I like mixing those archetypes. They seem to forget them sometimes, though. It does feel like
it's very number 5 energy from Umbrella Academy.
Yeah. That was a good reference. But so they get on that truck. He tries to help the hostage. We find that she is not a hostage, which we know from the trailer because the scene was in the trailer. And the girl kicks him out of the truck and like kicks his ass. They capture Bucky on the top of that truck. They smash Red Wing, and Bucky says he always wanted to do that. Falcon shows up. They have a fight. I like this. I thought it was a very enjoyable action scene. And it was also, like you mentioned, Adam, it was less murdery. And like, I'm not a prude about that, but it's just weird that like there was so much murder in that first action scene in the first episode. And I appreciate this was more like, oh, we're knocking people out, or we'll like throw them off a truck, but like they could be fine with like a broken arm, right? Like,
I think this was definitely like a welcome return to that type of choreo.
Yeah, so like they have that fight. They're kind of holding their own, but kind of not. And Johnny Walker Cap shows up with Hoskins. They help the fight, but also again, I'm like, these are two like regular dudes. Like, what are they gonna actually do? Because these like the Flag Smashers all are like, right? All of them are super soldiers.
They're all super soldiers, and as soon as New Cap faces them one-on-one, he's thrown from the truck. Like when he's like assisting or whatever, then like he's able to help, but like he's immediately tossed from that truck. The second it's one-on-one.
I mean, it's so funny you mentioned that, Adam, because Battlestar was talking a lot of shit on the ride back. And I was like, Miss Mamas, weren't you the one like literally ass sliding on the shield? Like past both of the trucks because I'm just like, let's not act like your face wasn't about to be concrete paste.
Yeah. Battlestar had a real like toady energy, like a real like like that like nasty sidekick. It was not great.
You're right, Aaron. I didn't even think about that because he is like, oh, what would you guys have done without us? And it's like, you both got thrown off the truck. Like they would have been fine.
I was just like, let's not act like that. Like the two of you weren't getting beatboxed on those trucks as well.
Shall we talk about my favorite scene, the Jeep? Should we get to the Jeep? No.
Wait. So we got to talk about the tumble, Adam.
Right. Oh, I mentioned that already. So yeah.
So Bucky like saves himself by like using his vibranium arm and hangs onto the truck. And this is where like, while it's not, they always give Falcon like he gets like the like dude insults. But like, he's like, oh, you got your ass kicked by a little girl. And like, Bucky's just screaming though. And then he's like, all right, let me get him. And like, if they're being playful banter, while that isn't a line that I like, if they're being playful, I think it's like, okay, I can have that banter. But when they're like, it seems like they just fucking hate each other, that's not enjoyable banter. Bucky is his character is weird, right? Like, he doesn't always get a social cue. So he's like just sitting on top of him and he's like, but like, he's just like talking to him while laying on top of him. And Falcon's like, get off me. And Bucky's like, they're super soldiers. And Falcon's like, yeah, I know. Like, that's the shit I like, when it's like, Bucky thinks he's bringing new information, but he is not. That's the shit I like, because that would be me. I'd be like, guys, I figured it out. And all of you'd be like, yeah, we were there 10 minutes ago, Ian. They walk down the street. They're talking about shit. And then, yes, Adam, what happens?
Well, those two smug jerk-offs come in within the Jeep, and they're like, get in, and they're doing this like really punishingly slow roll on the truck. And they get in, and what I liked most about the scene was it really illuminated right away where I think we're going with this. Where we all maybe guessed we're going. It's not exactly a show brimming with surprises, but we kind of got this. We got this talk from New Cap and Falcon, and Falcon was saying like, he was talking about Red Wing. They tracked him via Red Wing, and like one of the most revealing moments was where they were like, yeah, we tracked you via Red Wing, and then he does this like really like nerdy snivelly snort, and he's like, well, it's the property of the government. And I was like, this dweeb. I was like, this told me everything I need to know about this guy. This wiener is gonna have to be handled at some point in the show.
This sounds kind of weird, but I made a note of this when I watched the episode. So the cinematography in this show is really strange, because you have like ultra close-ups for the first time in MCU movies, but I believe the truck sequence might be the biggest wide shot without CGI that we've ever seen in a Marvel property. It's like almost Wes Anderson-y, where they're ultra wide out and they're walking, and they're doing that whole thing where the car is like stopping and starting. And it's such a weird, there's just like really weird artsy camera flourishes in this show for a show that is like kind of dumb. And every time I notice, I'm like, why is this entire therapy session shot in ultra close up? Like, it's really weird choices, but I kind of dig it.
The therapy session angles artsy. I wish I could say I like them. They're a little too close. Every time they do, like, because it's all like you keep doing like previously on whatever, and it's like it's just jarring every time. I don't like it, but yes, it is like. But I agree, like it is like these. I'm like, oh great, we're doing like sort of these flourishes.
You know what the Jeep scene gives me though, in terms of the energy, like very much TikTok. Like, what's a scene that resembles like this scene? And it is very much Mean Girls when
I already love this comparison. I don't know where you're going.
When they when obviously Katie's having a party and like the two weren't invited. Like, it is very much that energy to me. And it's like, I know she did not. Like, very, I don't know why, but in my head it makes sense.
I mean, sure, I love that. But yeah, I did really like this scene, and we're getting info dumps, but I don't know, I liked it. Like you said, Adam, that him saying it's property of the government tells you.
It just kind of tells you everything. It's just like he's towing the line, whatever it may be. He's a former football guy who rode that right into a military law enforcement gig. And then his whole thing is like, I'm Mr. Rule follower when it's other people, but when I need someone to do something, I'll go, okay, well, he's not doing that therapy anymore. Like, it's every red flag in the world. They couldn't have written it more obviously. Like, I'm like, oh man, every scene he's in, there's a new red flag.
But so I do want to pause for a second. Stephanie or Aaron, do one of you, I actually had no idea till I saw on Twitter that Hoskins was based on a character from the comics. Do one of you want to explain his comic correlation?
Let me go ahead and hop on this because I had to write about it. So Mr. Lamar Hoskins was introduced with John Walker initially as like this no-name group of thugs that they were working in tandem to like prop up John Walker, who was going by Super Soldier. So like they would do like these stunted type of ordeals where, to get people all excited about this new patriotic nationalistic guy, because the old Cap was slipping. Like Cap around that time had like shot somebody, which I mean, you got to do what you got to do. So anyway, so when Steve Rogers like relinquishes his shield and steps away, when John Walker is introduced as the new Cap, they bring in Lamar Hoskins, but he actually goes by the nickname Bucky. That is a problem because and actually, Dwayne McDuffie had to tell this to Mark Grunwald, but he's like, yeah, so that is actually a very derogatory term when referred to a Black man due to history, which you clearly know nothing about. So change that. So we changed it to Battlestar, and Battlestar basically runs around with John Walker, Captain America, in the same way that Falcon ran around with Captain America. So it's very much, if you take over the Captain America mantle, you are going to get a Black best friend.
God.
Thank you for that explainer. I really had because I think when I came into the comics, I think it was like US Agent was on West Coast Avengers. Mm-hmm. So that's just like, I always just thought of him as like, because Marvel has a lot of that where there's like the other version and then like the like darker version who's more violent. Like they do a lot of that shit. So I didn't know he also had a sidekick. Yeah, so we get this character, because also Torres is he like current Falcon or he was Falcon for a minute?
He is literally a Falcon.
Yeah, I actually didn't mind it at all. Stephanie, do you remember who wrote this run?
So it's the same guy who wrote the whole Cap Hydra thing. His name is very similar to a white supremacist, which is funny to me. Steve something. Who's that guy who got punched in the face?
Oh, Richard Spencer?
Yes, Richard Spencer, but it's Richard something else. Or it's something Spencer. It's something Spencer, but I always get them mixed up because of several reasons, but mainly because of their name.
Yeah, because in that version, or because I feel like this is the most modern iteration of like this Captain America universe, but the Power Broker experiments on Torres and like legitimately, he's experimented on and is infused with the blood of Redwing, the actual Falcon. And so then he becomes a Falcon human hybrid situation and then becomes like under the tutelage of Sam Wilson as Captain America. I mean, it's an interesting book.
Yeah, because Sam is turned into a werewolf. That is another long-standing Captain America. Captain America gets turned into a werewolf all the time because of this Black villain who I love, Nightshade.
Yes.
Like likes to fuck with him and always likes turning him into a werewolf.
So it's a furry thing, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it is a furry thing, and she's like in BDSM gear. It's a real good time.
That book is so bonkers because Misty's in it too. I forget the name of Red Skull's daughter, but I think Stephanie wasn't at the time she was in pursuit of Xavier's head because she wanted. Yeah, she wanted like his telepathic abilities.
Was her name Sin? Is that what it was?
It might have been Ian, but I won't call you a liar because I'm not sure, but we'll go with that. That sounds about right.
But so getting back to the show. So Adam, what is the thing that makes Bucky get out of the truck?
So our new favorite Guy Hoskins says, he's like, my name is Battlestar, and he says it in that smug way, and then he just literally has this like angry George Costanza moment where he's just like, stop the car, and he just busts out and he just like fucking drops and he leaves. He's had enough of these two. Yeah.
And in that moment I said, wow, so Bucky is going to be the person that I end up latching on for this series, because same.
I mean, yeah, it's one of these things where he is just like, he's had enough of everybody. He's kind of in that, he's in that like stage of depression where you were just, you're high functioning, but you were like, absolutely, you hate everything everybody's saying. You hate everybody. You walk around being like this look on your face where you're just like, everything you just said was like so stupid. I have to walk away from you.
So Adam, it's us every other alternating week.
Right. Yeah, we do trade off because sometimes I'm just like, no, Ian, what you got to understand is that everybody has a reason for why they're doing things, and dot 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 dot. And then next week I'll just be like, absolutely. I if I could snap away half of Twitter, I would.
But so then we get. I appreciated that, like, we do stay on like the character beats of like Falcon. Sam is more like, all right, let's talk, and he's like more open to what Johnny Walker is saying until Johnny Walker says he like calls them Cap's sidekicks, and Sam is like, oh, you had to have that last line, and he gets out of the truck. Yeah, I don't know. Like, part of me is like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. Like, I felt like Sam should have been annoyed before. Like, it felt like he should have been mad the moment it was like, oh, we tracked you with Red Wing. That would have been, for me, the moment I was done with those folks. Like, I would have been like, oh, you were tracking my shit. Oh, and now you're saying it's government property. Okay, fuck you. I'm getting out.
Because he has like the biggest beef with this guy because he's like, I kind of was feeling weird about the shield, and you said you were just going to put it in some museum. Then you give it to this jerk off, and then now he's tracking me with the thing. Like, I feel like this would build for him, and it kind of was not.
But I feel like this is also one of the most fundamental problems with Falcon as a character in general. Like, he just kind of rarely has a strong sense of perspective or, like, I don't know, a train of thought that's, like, that seems to be on its own. And I feel like you don't really see that as much in Winter Soldier because we're just getting introduced to him. But, like, for all intents and purposes, like, Falcon is essentially like the black best friend that's just there to, serve in silence. Like, I feel like he rarely offers any type of dynamic, either like feedback or just like a thought process that's worth following through. And I mean, Stephanie and I have like talked about this ad nauseum because he's not a dynamic character. And like, I hate to say it, but it's true. And so you would think that like he would be triggered by, them tapping into Red Wing, by him, by like, I would imagine the trauma of just giving that shield up and him dealing with a sense of imposter syndrome. But I feel like so much of Falcon's personality just comes off as like, he either doesn't give a fuck or just like isn't invested fully in what's going around him.
Part of me wishes like they took what they set up in episode 1, which is that like he doesn't really have any source of income because like Stark is gone and he's just like a contractor. And they use that to like drive the conflict for him, which is like, well, like a government contract with this guy who dresses up like my friend and I hate him, like could help me like with my sister's boat. And like, I feel like this show has set up things that he could care about. And then they're like, nah, let's forget about it. There's anarchists on the internet that we're going to hunt down for no reason. And it's like, but you almost could have given him a motivation.
Yeah. And I feel like he doesn't really have one outside of being, Sam Wilson gives me very like quippy black best friend energy that like
he's Kevin Hart.
Yes.
Oh. No.
Because he like you can tell he used to live in the hood in some capacity. Like or like he, he might have come from a rough neighborhood, but like maybe he moved in with his aunt in the suburbs and like just kind of like stayed out there for like all of his high school experience. But I kid you not, like he gives me the energy of every black bro that you see in a fraternity. Yeah, like it is very much so that energy where he's just like, I'm just happy to be here, guys. Like, and is a class clown.
And he's got those like soft, nerdy gamer nephews too, who really need a better example.
Exactly.
Like, who really just wanted them to fuck off so they could play Switch. Like, they.
He gave them like you know what, the respectability type of politics that he leans into feels very right for the character, or maybe just Anthony Mackie in general. So even though he is being depicted this way, it still makes sense. I wish that they would break outside of that. And they've been talking all day long about how they plan on exploring Black malehood in this show. And I'm just like, okay, girl. But even with all of that, like it just still feels very true to the character. And I mean, not in a good way, but it's not a lie.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So is it right after this? When it is right after this, right? When Bucky like says he wants, there's someone he wants Falcon to meet. And Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong. In the comics, was Isaiah first introduced in Young Avengers?
Red, White, and Black, right?
Yeah, it was the I guess true for the red, black, and white, or whatever they called it. But yeah, that's where Isaiah is retroactively introduced because someone at the Marvel offices was like, "Hey, so let's just say that there was a Black Captain America. That's something that the people go for. They always love when we retroactively introduce this character who also could have been a legacy hero, but we didn't have that forethought back then. So let's do this and, mix all this Black trauma in, like stir it up real good, and boom. And now we got somebody to make this character who looks like Michael Jordan and inject him into the Young Avengers.
Because I remember in my brain I thought that comic, I knew that comic I thought it came after Young Avengers. My timeline of like that stuff is because in the Young Avengers, I remember him being like, I liked it better that they gave him more of a voice agency.
Yes.
I remember the comics him being like, he just kind of sits there, right? So like, at least there was that. I think this actor was really good. The actor they cast as Isaiah. What did we all think of this scene?
Well,
I would like to know what it's gonna mean. I guess before I have an opinion, I just want to know what they're doing with it, because it's a loaded thing to drop in if you're not ever gonna come. I mean, they must come back to it, right? But I'm holding my breath, I guess.
So is the reason I'm just like trying to, because it was not as like, I'm not like following the through lines as well on this show as I did with WandaVision, but like the reason Bucky took him over there was because he was like, these super soldiers are popping up out of nowhere, and then that's weird. So I'm going to go to the only other super soldier that I know. Right? Is that it?
I guess. I think that's it, Adam. I really don't think they had any other way to, or couldn't think of any other way to like introduce this character so early on, since they only had, 7 episodes total?
6, yeah.
6. Oh, 6. Oh, God, I just got so happy.
This is not to drop a third Seinfeld reference in here, but this is the bad sub card. This is like, all right, only 4 more, and my husband is like, we don't like have to like legally finish watching this show, and I was like, we'll finish.
Legally for Slayerfest 98, we have to.
Even without the show, I would be finishing, because I have a finishing thing. But
it felt awkward. Like my first watch, I was like, wait, why are they here? Like I kept thinking like, why did Bucky break? Like I rewound that after I finished just to be like, did I miss a reason? But it felt very weird. But I gotta say, I thought that actor delivered a really good performance in this scene. Like I was like, yeah, fuck you, Bucky. What do you think you're doing? Like I felt like that dude was in the right the whole time he was angry. And I thought he like gave a really good, like, older dude has this trauma. Yeah, I don't know.
He was great. That's Carl Lumbly. He's been throughout our childhood as far as like superhero stuff is concerned. So he was Mantis, and also he voiced Mr. Martian Manhunter in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. So that's why he like really had that vibe down.
That makes sense.
So one thing that I think we should point out, just because it's kind of, this is why I'm waiting to see more, because I'm kind of horrified if this is where they're going to leave it, because the original characters introduced like to acknowledge that they experimented on Black soldiers, and all of them died except for Isaiah Bradley, and it's supposed to be like a Tuskegee syphilis study like riff. And in this, they introduced him as like a super soldier that Bucky knew during the Korean War, and if they leave it there, like that is wildly inappropriate in my opinion, because like you can't
agree.
Yeah, you have like, and especially then to have then Sam arrested for or detained for racial profiling, like the next scene, it's just too much. Like you have to acknowledge,
like outside of that man's house.
Yeah, like it's like, what are you doing? It's so clumsy, and then and the tone is so all over the place, and then to not reference like the racism of Isaiah Bradley's existence, like I don't know, I need more. I need more of that, or it's just really bad writing.
Was Isaiah Bradley jailed for 30 years, like the character was in the comic?
Yeah,
he was. But I think what honestly would have helped this scene is I think that there could have been a level of intimacy that Sam could have had with Isaiah if they were the only people in the room. And I also find it a little head scratching that like Bucky is the one, like I get that he's, you know, a millennia old, but he's the one that has this information. But I feel like it could have possibly been more powerful if Falcon had simply like done research and realized that there was another, you know, Black Captain America and like sought him out himself. But this just feels, I mean, I don't know, it feels so racially charged and at the same time like a really simple plot device. And so I'm hoping, Ryan, to your point, that there is a payoff later in the future. Because right now, and I mean, one of the things that Stephanie and I talk about a lot, especially like within the comic and geek space, is how painful at times it can be to just see Black trauma on display. And it felt like here it was again without actually having a reason or a license enough to like really deliver a powerful message, but just to traumatize us some more.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
This is like the second time they've done this, because they do it in the first episode, which at least there's a reason for that, right? Like they show Falcon open and like the opening, him doing all these amazing things, flying, soaring, killing folks, all that. And how competent he is at his job. And then he still, unfortunately, cannot get a loan because of just institutional racism and everything else. So, but they have like, there's a connection there. Like you can reason why, writing wise, like why you put that there. But you still kind of didn't do anything with it outside of that. So I'll let it go. And then in this episode, because Sam is like questioned by the police twice. Was it one time, I think, in the previous episode, and then in this one, it's just kind of like, why do you all keep doing this?
Yeah.
Like, we get it. We don't, we listen.
Right.
We get it.
They're like isolated, and so it like ends up feeling like we're watching Crash a little bit.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Adam, that's a good reference.
But that's the thing. I was waiting for any of these. Like, it felt like we were watching, like, because we got the Isaiah story and this thing. Like, they all feel so separate. Like they're little short films where it's like, hey, this kind of character you love from the Captain America movies. Like, here's him just getting detained. Like, and again, if Sam had a more, like y'all were saying, like a more logical and consistent and activated kind of through line, like Aaron, like you said, like if he had because again, we're getting a whole Black Widow movie about what was she up to when she was on the run for 2 years between Civil War and Infinity War. This could have been Sam's version of that, where it's like, yeah, during that time on the run, he encountered Isaiah. He learned the story. He dug that up, and you could had it feel more kind of activated. This was just kind of another person off of Bucky's list, and then you had Sam be this more just kind of passive observer to more trauma in the house.
Yeah, and I feel like exactly what you're articulating is why I have a hard time with digesting Falcon and the show in general, because I feel like Bucky is rich with backstory. He, it's like despite his age, like he has a very complicated, nuanced backstory that kind of unfolds in multiple ways around him. And for Sam, that has been through very systemic racist sort of like ideas. Like just even the fact of like, Stephanie and I were joking about the first episode with him being like, yeah, we're gonna like go out there and sell like catfish dinners. And just like,
and oh my God, I don't know if I said systematic, but if I did, y'all, I meant systemic, but Sierra got to me.
I was like, okay.
There's also, I wanted to go real quick back to that point about Bucky, like being the one to show Sam. And it reminds me so much of like the criticism around the movie Soul, where you had like Black content, like Black issues walked through by a white character, and it's such a Disney trick, and it's just like so insidious that to see it pop up yet again within like the same 6 months.
Soul and Green Book too. Like I feel like it is very like, here, let the oppressor teach you about your oppression, and it's getting like fiercely played out.
So also I wanted to ask, did we all think that the younger guy was supposed to be Patriot?
Yeah.
You do?
Oh, the kid in the house?
Oh, Eli? Yeah, I think so.
He's not supposed to be light skinned.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh.
good luck when that is revealed.
So, because I didn't think it was, but then I saw a lot of people saying that they thought it was, and I guess that makes sense. So they leave the house. Isaiah kicks them out, tells them to leave, and they leave. I kind of, again, to your point of like, it would have been better if Falcon was there with him alone. I kind of thought we were going to get like, okay, Bucky leaves, but Falcon and him like have a talk, right?
Yeah.
I thought that would have made for like a good scene. And I mean, maybe we'll get it later on, but that's what I was waiting for. I was waiting to be like, okay, Falcon's going to go back and talk to him, and he'll be understandably less threatened because Falcon's not a man who, like, was this like evil assassin 100 years ago that he had to fight.
Or even like a lingering moment where like he does follow him out, but he waits for a moment and they have a final piece of dialogue or something. A moment that re-solidifies Sam as the protagonist of the show, which so far seems there is a bit of a co-protagonist thing, but like I think Bucky is a little bit more supporting if we're looking at the storytelling in greater detail. So
for sure, yeah.
I think it was such a missed opportunity to with seeing Elijah, Isaiah, and Sam, because when I look at that, I see 3 different types of generational trauma of being Black men, and that could have been such a poignant, just sort of powerful discussion, even if Elijah didn't like say anything. But I feel like you so rarely see Black men commune with each other and sort of that level of intimacy. And so, yeah, it was just like once he had like left the house, I was just like, that was a waste, kind of.
Yeah, right. Yes, that's what it felt very that. It was like they just kind of like worked up this like older Black man to go see him, and like they did nothing but like upset him, right?
It's funny because like we could have had a whole episode just with that. Like without even unpacking every single thing about the Isaiah story. Like you could have had an entire episode that just kind of touched it, because all this show is doing is tracing and looking at, what does being Captain America mean? What does having that shield mean? And it, absolutely, you could have spent a whole episode lingering on with that. I mean, maybe this would have been a stronger show had they been broken up into half an hour, 9-piece chunks where you could do more episodic stuff. I don't know. I'm trying not to bring my writer hat to this too much, but it definitely I'm definitely trying to be like, oh, I was almost there, and in so many different moments.
I think that's it. The show is always almost there, and that's like very frustrating to me.
And it doesn't make any sense too, because like this isn't something that is on Netflix. It's in your house. So do you not have enough time in your own kitchen? Like, what's going on? And I get like actors and stuff are busy and they have other things going on, but also you hired them. So if you hired them and they agreed to do it, then get the extra, episode or whatever. Because again, this is Disney's thing on Disney's thing. It's not, Disney contractually doing something like for Netflix and any of that. Like, figure it out. Take the time to tell a story. This is why these are on your streaming app and not in the theaters, because you're taking the time out to like really, flesh out these characters so folks can get to know them. So do the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So they leave the house and we cut to, is it after this? No, it's literally immediately outside of his house where the police show up. I thought we got the cut to but we don't even get the cut to the Flag Smashers. They're outside the house, the police show up, and Stephanie, what you said is what I was thinking. It's like very weird the way they just like, it's like immediate, and it's like, I don't know, it feels like too much.
It does.
I will say though, I was like so upset from the Isaiah, like the Isaiah stuff made me like teary eyed. I mean, we all know I'm very emotional, not surprising. But like that made me real teary eyed, and I stayed teary eyed because it's like, we just had this like really upsetting moment with like this really good actor giving a really good performance. And then we're like, and I mean, it goes back to what you said, Aaron, of like we're just like traumatizing this Black character more, and we're not doing it for a reason.
Yeah.
And like,
no, it just, here's the thing, probably from a storytelling standpoint, they needed to get them over to the precinct because Bucky flopped on his court mandated therapy. And they were like, okay, well, let's have this moment where Bucky is arrested, but oh, great, we're in this kind of neighborhood, and we'll comment on that. Like, it just kind of felt like there was a weird fake out to have this escalating tension with Sam, and then like, a twist, we're gonna take Bucky into custody. Like, it was,
right,
and like with stronger writing. If they would have actually done more with maybe if Sam would have had that moment with Isaiah and also Elijah or whatever, if that is Elijah, but maybe then if that scene happens, I'm already so tied in and actually caring about Sam and this new frustration that he has because he was unaware that this Black Captain America existed. And then just hearing what he had to go through, that whole ordeal has him very raw. So then when the police pull up and then this happens like a double whammy, like you just have to deal with this, now you have to deal with this, then I'm probably still annoyed. However, you've given me a reason to make up for that annoyance because it works even more to endear you to Sam because, unfortunately he had to learn this news, deal with that. No time to process it because he's given a new trauma to have to deal with. But no, it's just, hey, we're going downtown, y'all, because Bucky has a warrant. Wink, plot twist.
Yeah.
Right. And it was one of the, because not to jump ahead, but because it's one of these things where we're trying to get to this point where you're showing, and then when you do get to the two of them in therapy together, and Bucky has this nice kind of revealing moment where you kind of see him unpack stuff, and then Sam further shuts down. That made sense only if you kind of really tried to do the extra math there and be like, no, he's just had a really big clusterfuck of a day.
So then we get, God, when do we get, I guess we skipped over it, but we do get a scene of the Flag Smashers going to the safe house. It feels very, all right. Sure.
Dude, why are European terrorists speaking English? It's just such a simple thing. And the minute you see it, you're like, oh, this is going to suck. Okay.
And it's so funny because they use that same actress for this role. And because do you guys remember she was also the leader of that weird mechanical indigenous tribe in the Solo movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I didn't realize that was her.
Yep.
I was just like, y'all love doing this.
I was like, whose niece is this?
Can we talk about the Flag Smashers though, just as an idea?
Please.
Because I feel like part of me is like, have you learned nothing from the last decade of protest movements, especially an online protest movement? We know what these things look like. Make them the alt-right. Just make them the alt-right. Do that. Don't do this. Right. Whatever this is.
You know what? It's extra insidious too because the fact that they're so diverse, coupled with the fact that you've introduced John Walker in the way that you have, and then also you've had Bucky reveal this piece of very important Black history to Sam. It's very, whatever they're going to try to say with this show is going to mean absolutely nothing because of the way that they've introduced all of these things and the way that they've done it. So you're right, just make them all the way alt-right, but because you've made them diverse, you've basically said, you see, those colors, they can also feel the same way that these other groups do because, anarchists and everything, that is that's a multicultural thing or standpoint. And it's just not wholly true with what you're trying to say with this show. And it's just very irritating because you can't have it both ways. You can't make the whole diversity inclusion component fit into your villain. Because then I'm thinking, well, no, they're not wrong. And then, but they're now they're talking about Bill Borders and but wait, huh?
Right.
But Stephanie, I feel like you are touching upon a character flaw that I see in a lot of either Black characters or creative characters of color that exist in a sci-fi and fantasy universe. And I feel like one of the biggest examples I can think of right now is the way that Prudence is written in Sabrina.
I'm gonna throw up.
Yeah. The fact that and you see this a lot, unfortunately, with very specific Black characters where they are racist or speciest in some sort of like odd way. So for instance, like Prudence is very like, she's calling Sabrina a half-breed throughout the entire season.
Oof.
What's that show that is it Pretty Broken Things that was on Netflix with the dancers? Did anyone see that?
No.
There is a biracial Black character in there whose father served in the military and died in Iraq, if I'm correct. And so there is a Middle Eastern boy who also attends the dance school. And so he's just always, quote unquote, have beef with him. And I feel like this is something we see so often, like where it is specifically a brown character that becomes becomes the megaphone of
that type of and the reason why that is that it makes it it allows you to say stuff without actually saying it, so then you can be like, yeah, we did do the thing, but no, you really honestly did not.
Well, that's the thing, like it further lets like further lets white supremacy off the hook, and it's one of these things where like, and that's another thing with the Flag Smashers that I'm like so confused about. I'm like, I don't know what the like plan. I know like the goal, but it's a pretty broad with like
right.
They want to make things the way they were before then, and I'm like, because they keep saying that, but I'm like, how socially or like literally make them disappear? Like I'm like, what is the like?
What was it? Was everybody eating peanut butter sandwiches or something?
I don't know. Like stealing vaccines. I really don't know what the fucking plan is. And if they were even if they were alt-right people, I feel like they would have like a very specific, like, we're just gonna kind of keep this cool shit going or whatever. Or if there was something bad, like,
or go all the way with it. Like this was what they accidentally kind of got right with Thanos, which is like, if you were going to be an eco-fascist, they're real, they exist. You can go look up what they write about on the internet, and you can like use it, and they could be like, we believe that the earth is too crowded, there's global warming, and we're going to like depopulate the earth again the way Thanos wanted it, and make them like disciples of Thanos. Like use what they've got. Instead they make this like rainbow brigade of anarchists that talk like Antifa. It's so dumb.
Well, then just like casually, or here's the thing, we're dropping in some world building here that's very troubling and could be interesting were they exploring it. Were they not failing to explore like 6 or 7 of the other interesting things they're bringing up? They keep referencing like, yeah, well, you know, there's all these unhoused encampments all over the planet.
Oh, I loved that. That was like catnip for me.
And then they just like kept blowing. I was like, how many people are unhoused? Or they're just like whole sections of countrysides that are just filled with unhoused people, while the rest of us are like going on and being like, that's weird. I lost 5 years of my life, or like, you know, like if you juxtapose like that kind of world, this like deeply chaotic, unhoused world with like the Spider-Man Far From Home, you know, reality, which is just like, oop, this person you went to high school with is now in college and you're still in high school. Like kind of that sort of thing where like people's lives were kind of upended, but not really. But then you had this whole thing, and I'm just a little like, I'm waiting like for so much more stuff to just get unpacked in a way that I'm like, oh, I hope they do, but it just seems a little vague.
Yeah. Does anyone here watch The Expanse?
It's like a show that I've always meant to watch, but I have not watched it.
I can't wait for my turn to say, does anybody watch Fill in the Blank and then it's silent?
So the Expanse, it's a good show. I highly recommend it. But the most recent season is about the emergence of an ISIS-like extremist cell within the politics of the show. And what they do is they create like a tiered society of inequality, and then they show how like a radical can become kind of like a, you know, an al-Baghdadi figure. And it's well done. It takes the whole season to kind of get to where it's going. And it takes a lot of like nuanced writing, and they have to like deal with the whole complexities of how that happens. And the Marvel universe is just like not capable of that. Like the MCU just can't do it. And so we end up getting this like halfway thing where, you know, you have like TikTok bandits robbing banks or something. And it's like, Give us the ISIS of Thanos. Give us Snap ISIS. You can do it. It's there. But they're just too lazy, I think, or cowardly.
I'm going to move us on to the couples therapy.
Oh boy.
So Sam goes to the precinct, and Bucky is released. We find out he is released because of stupid ass Johnny Walker, who's like, oh, he's with me. The therapist comes in, and I really liked her in the first episode. She seemed very competent, very smart, she knew Bucky. It felt like she, called him on his bullshit immediately. She was like, well, you're lying. Well, you're lying. Oh, you're lonely and you're 100 years old. And this version of her seemed like kind of dumb. I was like, is she doing this bad therapy on purpose?
She was letting a lot more slide.
Yeah. And I mean, at the top of it, she says, this might be unprofessional, but I think it's the only way to get through to the two of you. But it also felt a little like I enjoyed the scene. I'm not going to pretend I didn't. I enjoyed it. But like afterwards, I thought about it. Once you like pull it, it's like, wait, but like she's Bucky's therapist. It doesn't seem like he was talking about Sam a lot. It doesn't seem like that would be the thing she has to do is put them together. It felt like it's Bucky and his trauma, and that's what she was there for. I don't know. I felt I didn't understand what she was doing, but it made for an enjoyable scene. And she like flat out says she's using couple therapy. They make them put their legs together. It's very ridiculous, but I did enjoy it. This seemed to be, they did a good job here of making it silly while keeping the characters in character and like they're still like mad and angry. I don't know. What did everyone else think of this therapy scene?
I liked it. I thought it was fine. I think like it was a quick way to write themselves out of a corner that they wrote themselves into for no reason in the first episode. Like that's what the second half of this episode felt like to me, which was just like them being like, okay, we've done a bunch of stuff and none of that stuff we need anymore because we're going to go into like we're going to go into Civil War II now. And so they're like undoing all of their personal like plot devices, which, gives the show character. So we're going to be like, here's one last little thing. And then we're never going to bring this up again. So, it was fine. But
Stephanie, what'd you think?
I was thinking I wanted to listen to Mary J. Blige's Share My World because this was a very poor version of that. It was just like, you know what, let's, again, like what Ryan just said, write ourselves out of this hole. And then also to, I don't know, like connect Bucky and Sam together. Like, let's have Sam, in his therapy session because Sam is a part of his life now and therefore would also need to be a part of his therapy. So it was very, put on Mary J. Blige, Share My World and let things go.
I don't know. I feel like for them to, like, I know Bucky has a very different relationship with Steve, but I do also believe that the MCU likes to dangle him as sort of, I don't know, this queer baity, like, potential character. And so, like, yeah, I guess after, because Bucky at times, in like in the greater whole of the MCU, can become really exhausting to watch as a character.
Yeah.
And so I think I was just reminded of that in this scene. I was just like, okay, well, next.
Yeah.
Adam?
Yeah, I think it's a mistake to have Bucky and Sam have this much static right now. I think they set themselves up such a gift by having like these two people who maybe up front, like, all right, they're friends-in-law, they don't have a lot of warmth, but then they are thrown together into a situation where they have a common, like, kind of person they hate with this new Cap. And I thought like, oh great, this is going to bring them together. They'll have it. But I'm like, how are we ever going to root for the two of them when they have like never had any functioning like at all once? They've been either bickering or it's just one of those people where I'm just like, do you like each other? Like kind of thing. Like, and not even in a way that this therapist was, which is like, you two. Like I was just really like, was legit. Like I was like, I know you both loved the same guy who is now gone. So but I just think it's one of those things where a lot of stuff in this show makes sense in a way, like emotionally, but is not the strongest choice. Because it's like, it makes sense to explore these mundane things and this real life stuff and do this and that. It is not the most active choice, not when you've got 6 episodes, not when you are trying to make the case for these two characters have a very rich life outside of Captain America's shadow. Other than that, I liked it. No, I'm just
I mean, I did like Sebastian Stan's delivery of the like, if he was wrong about you, then he was wrong about me.
That was the moment. That was the biggest moment for me, where it was like, yes, we're getting somewhere.
I thought that was like, that did pack the emotional punch. Like that again made me like a little teary eyed. So I was like, fuck, I mean, maybe it's my smooth brain after a year of only seeing my parents. But like, I felt like, oh, I hadn't even thought that's why he's so angry. I thought he was just being kind of a dick, being angry about the shield. But that made a little bit more sense because it was a little annoying how Bucky kept making it all about him when actually it was Sam's decision and he's allowed to donate this shield to a museum. It's not like he thought it was going to go to this other dude. He didn't hand it over to Johnny Walker. I understand being angry about it being in Johnny Walker's hands, but like donating it to the Captain America Museum isn't a wild, like that's not, that doesn't seem so like a thing to be angry about, right? But so then I don't like how it ends. I don't like the Falcons like, well, after this, we'll just never speak again.
It's so like fake 90s action movie. And it's like, it's like, guys, just like, let it go.
Because like we know that's not how it's going to end up, right?
Yeah.
It's just it's not going to accomplish the thing, which is illuminate who Sam is. Like, I think it would have been such a great opportunity to take that moment after Bucky's confession and for him to just continue with that energy ball and reveal more, and then end on a positive note because they had friction the whole episode. They could have ended on that. They only got like 4 more episodes. Like, are they going to get along at it like all? Right. Like once, and then now they're going to go get this villain who we all know he's in every poster and trailer. So you know, they are actively resisting forward momentum energy in their writing and performance.
Yeah. So they get outside, they leave, they say that's okay. They even tell the therapist she made it weird. They walk out, they encounter Johnny Walker. This is when it's like, okay, but like you two are a team because like they're a united front when they need to be. So it feels like just cut the shit, right? Yeah. Like you do your bickering if you want, but stop pretending that you're not even going to speak to each other after this, because they're on the same side in this scene, right? Like neither of them want anything to do with Walker. Falcon's trying to be more the nice guy. He even says like, oh, well, you're held down by the government. We're flexible. So I don't think it's good we work together. He's trying to be the guy who's not causing a scene. Bucky's more like flipping him off. And Cap Walker says like, what is he? I think he says something like, well, it's going to be a mistake if you get in the way or something like that, right? It's like a veiled threat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I would like one of you who are a bigger comic nerd to explain to me, I didn't quite get the conclusion they got of, we got to go see Zemo.
It doesn't make any damn sense at all.
No, it doesn't. It's because he was in the movie with them last time.
Yeah.
That's all.
It says it's the only thing. It's actually pretty weird how they've introduced the Flag Smashers because, that's what actually ends up making Cap want to question what he's doing and retire is because due to the Flag Smasher is the reason why he ends up catching a body via a gun and why he's like questioning his morality and all these other things, whatever. So the way that they've introduced them and now are going to introduce Zemo it feels very backwards. Like I feel like Zemo should have been introduced first and then them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like John Walker to be a plant from Zemo.
That's what it feels like is happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the natural show here. It's very weird that that's not what's going on.
Because I thought it was interesting that like Batroc the Leaper was the first villain, quote unquote, we got from the show.
Right.
Which, I mean, to Stephanie and Ryan's points, I feel like just like, hey, who was in those Captain America movies again? Let's include them on a bill. Right. Because this show is also supposed to go to Madripoor, and I'm like, how is this?
Ooh.
Yeah, how are they going to do that? We had like, at this point in WandaVision's runtime, we were heading into Quicksilver.
Right.
With 4 episodes left. So
the pacing thing about both WandaVision and this show, it sort of bothers me about both, which is that they're constantly fighting what we're all here to do, right? Like WandaVision did this a lot in the early episodes where it's like, we're all going to pretend like we have no idea what's about to happen, but we all kind of do. We're padding time and we're like eventually going to build to what is just a standard movie. But it was fun, so I feel like people weren't super bothered by it. But I'm beginning to think that this is maybe a problem with all these shows, which is that like they don't know how to write a TV show, so they're just like putting a bunch of weird buffer before what is just going to be a movie that's cut into pieces.
I think that's fair
Because I find it fascinating And I know that Marvel wants to try to be more experimental with their TV shows, but I'm surprised that they didn't go the same route with like almost establishing a very specific genre for each show. Yeah, like I felt like that could have had some problems to it,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It just feels like going back to WandaVision. I was having a conversation with like an editor friend of mine about the whole Quicksilver thing. And I'm like, say what you will, like about it, that was Marvel trolling. And so I'm just like, how much trolling are we in for with the rest of these like series? But there was no logical choice on the planet for them to give us Evan Peters as Quicksilver, other than to be like, yeah, fuck you, we got Fox too.
Right.
Yeah.
That was an issue. That Quicksilver reveal is one of my issues with the show that I loved. But so I will say the drama they bring after he's like, we're gonna go see Zemo. I was like, I loved, that's the shit I like. They're playing like whatever that fucking like opera theme and like going through the halls and they show the chessboard and it reminded me a little bit, it reminded me a little bit of like Magneto playing chess in the X-Men movies.
Yeah.
It's he's a menace to society, but we need him, like kind of moment.
But like Zemo didn't quite earn that entrance, I don't think.
He's just like a guy. Like he's a random, like that's what's so crazy to me about this is that like in Civil War, he's just a guy who's kind of mad. And he doesn't, I mean, he succeeds in his plan, but his plan is just to be like, I'm going to make these people fight each other. And I'm just like a random dude from like Eastern Europe. Like that's his whole deal. Like,
yeah.
I mean, in Civil War, you knew his breakfast order more than you knew him as a character.
Well, yeah. Like here's my pitch for how I reintroduce Zemo, because Zemo's whole thing was like, he's this every guy. He was in Age of Ultron, but nobody knew he's a flop. He's somebody nobody knows. He's the little guy trounced on by all this superhero stuff. So he's this guy nobody notices. So I would have opened it. I would have taken maybe a page from even WandaVision saying how they started Monica's episode by kind of in media res, like opening with her in the middle of like her coming back from the blip. And the chaos of that. Like, imagine an episode that begins with Zemo was snapped away, and then he's in the middle of prison show a prison with this kind of chaos where it's like, ooh, the guard come back, like someone has the keys, it's been abandoned, the door is open, the door is unlocked, people can leave, and he's such a blank, he's such a non-entity, he basically can just slip out. And then you sort of see how he gets out, and then he's behind the Flag Smashers, or he's behind U.S. Agent, or something like that.
I kind of thought that's what it was going to be.
Yeah, like how do we lobby for Adam to be a part of the next phase of series? Because it like, how does that not make sense? Like, I feel like, you know what? I feel like my 5-year-old could be like, yeah, so let's open up the beginning with this guy dealing with things and then go from there. They do it in My Little Pony.
Oh, wait. Let's go even further here. And Baron Zemo is known for a mask, his like purple mask, which he has never worn in the MCU. And we are now going to have like a terrorist organization that have masks. Why wouldn't you make them all like the Rorschach gang from Watchmen, where they're dressed up like Zemo?
Yeah.
Yep.
And you build hype for the eventual reveal of Daniel Bruhl or whoever putting on the purple mask. Like it's there. It's all there.
It's so true. Yeah. So it's one of these things where it's like you want to bring us in, and this is something where, you know, say what we will about the problems that we had with WandaVision. By the end, those first 5 episodes were tight, and especially episodes 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
Were tight.
Agreed.
Were tight. If you take them all as separate, the way we got spoiled by how good episode 4 was, with they could have had a line of dialogue if the Winter Soldier story writers had run this. It would have just Monica would have just shown up and said, "Oh yeah, you know, whatever. I was in the hospital and I heard." Like, she would have just told it to somebody. Like they chose to like anchor us with this character, bring her in. Show all the different ways there's chaos. Why tell us there is an unhoused encampment when you could show could easily get a whole bunch of extras for one afternoon and shoot something like that and show us, ground it, make us feel it.
But all that said, I loved the ridiculous intro. Like, I kind of hope we make Zemo as like, because like Zemo in the comics is a little bit of like, he's got a little bit of flair and drama to him. He's like a little bit like Doctor Doom, where he's got like, he'll have like a bejeweled thing holding up his cape, and it has like the fur on it and the purple mask, and it's very like showy villain. And
Baron Zemo's like beta male Doom.
Yeah.
I mean, but even Batroc is also like really flamboyant in the comics too.
That's
and
true,
like the girls are over here jonesing for Thanos and his gauntlet, but like the looks.
But so all that said, I did enjoy this episode way more than episode 1. Like, I feel like I'm definitely more, I know I had a lot of critiques, but I definitely felt more attached after this episode than I did after episode 1.
Yeah.
But now that we're at the end, favorite scene, Ryan?
Oh boy. Favorite scene. It's probably like the Bucky scene about the Hobbit. It's just one of those scenes that is so easy, and it just fills out some backstory, and it's nice, and I enjoyed it, and I want more of that tone throughout the rest of the show. Like, I think that's fun and good.
Stephanie?
My favorite scene was Falcon doing falcony things with his wings in that action sequence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aaron?
So my favorite scene is when the little sparkle goes over the Disney Plus sign.
Brutal.
JK. I do definitely. I did enjoy like the dual semi truck like fight thing, because I actually do genuinely enjoy action sequences with Sam. I feel like they can do some really fun things if they try. So yeah.
Adam?
Yeah, my favorite scene was the Jeep, because I think just because it showed us a very focused, intentional, like, reveal of like, okay, here's someone showing their cards, where it didn't feel like it was a character moment that didn't feel like an accident. So yeah, so I felt like it had the most energy in that part.
For me, it's a tie between, well, I'm going to cheat. So I loved the fight on the truck because, yeah, I think you're all right. It's shot really well. It's an enjoyable fight scene. I like the Isaiah scene because that actor was like really giving a really good performance. And then when they were touching legs in the therapy scene, because I am nothing if not fucking myself. So whatever, I like them touching knees. What do you want to see moving forward, Aaron?
Set him up, yeah.
Wow, that was so rude. I would just love beautiful cinematography in Madripoor. Like, I'm very curious about how they're going to pull Madripoor off. It's like one of my favorite places in the comics.
All right. Adam?
Gosh, like, serious answer is let's get Sam and Bucky actually enjoying each other and working against this fake Cap. Joke answer, let's do this werewolf Falcon thing. Let's bring that back in. Yeah.
Stephanie?
Damn, I actually want that now, Adam, but
yeah, that's the teaser. That's the end credit scene of 6. Yeah.
I know this isn't going to happen, but like, I just want them to really go there with Zemo as his messy, aunt at Thanksgiving. They're not really going to lean into that, but I just wish that was the thing because, you have this character who is your shit starter for absolutely no reason. Then I am bored. Let's ruffle some feathers. But actually, I hope for not Falcon, but what is the name of the guy who is Falcon? I'm so sorry, I'm blanking on his name.
Torres. Yeah,
Torres. Like, I hope they go weird and he really is transformed into a Falcon.
Let's do it.
Yeah, that would be so cool.
Let's do the initiative. Let's just do like, all right, all these military guys just get like super juiced up with like this island of Dr. Moreau.
You're all furries now. That's right.
They're all furries. Ryan, what would you like to see moving forward?
I just think I'm really hoping it'll be Mephisto and Reed Richards. I'm really holding out for John Krasinski as Reed Richards and Who did they think was going to be Mephisto? It was someone fucking stupid. Ray Fiennes, that's who it was. Yeah. And then Magneto and Charles Xavier will show up.
God.
My serious answer is that I hope that after the baggage of the first 2 episodes, it just becomes like Sam and Bucky on a road trip through the MCU, and it's like, and it gets the tone correct, and it's like a fun show, and it because I don't think it's smart enough to be serious, so I'm hoping it can just like nail that kind of like middle of the road like action movie humor, but I don't know, we'll see.
I kind of agree with that. I'm going to be really annoyed if Sharon is our reveal at the end of the next episode.
You know it.
Oh,
you know,
we know she's
Why
there.
Speak that evil into the universe. We know that's what's going to happen.
Right.
But so I want her to just get there right at the beginning of the next episode, and maybe I feel like they're going to try to make her more like the one that's like, hey, you two are being like big fucking babies. Just, you're cool. You're fighting together. You're on a mission. Shut the fuck up. Because I feel like they need someone who's like fighting alongside that can tell them to like shut up.
That's such an annoying thing to saddle a female character with. Just be like,
I know.
Yeah, it's so played. Ugh.
But I tell you, Marvel loves setting up Emily Van Camp. So I think that will happen. They really love just putting her at a disadvantage every single time.
I want her to come out of the shadows with just her boot. Like that's a silhouette. Like we get the, and I want it to be an ankle boot too. A nasty ankle boot with a kitten heel.
Well, I was going to say, like, you have like an alley cat. The camera follows the alley cat, and then it passes by her boot, and it stays on her boot, like they do with like they do Catwoman intros in the animated series.
Yes.
Oh, wait, is it an open toe boot?
Oh my god! Wait.
No,
it is. No, what? No, it is an open toe boot.
Listen, I'm just saying because of Halle Berry's Catwoman. He was out there in an open toe pump.
All right.
Sorry.
Now, what grade do you give? What grade do we give the episode, Stephanie?
It gets a C+.
Okay. Aaron, what grade do you give it?
I'm going to give it a C.
Okay. Ryan?
I'm going to give it a B because I'm being charitable and because we haven't been disappointed by what has been set up by this episode yet. So I think looking back, we'll be like, oh, they didn't nail it, but they could. You know, we never know.
Adam?
I don't know. I gave the first episode a B, and I like this more, but now I'm gonna. I don't know. I'm like not consistent. B-.
That's exactly the trouble I'm having, Adam.
It's a B- show. So
see. I gave the other episode a B-, so I think I have, and I definitely like this episode better. So I got to give it a higher grade. Don't kill me. I think I'm going to give it like a B+, just because.
It's fine. As long as you didn't say A, I was going to pass out.
Yeah, it's not an A, but yeah.
Stephanie's going to cancel all her future appearances.
It was like, Ian, don't you ever.
Meaningless gradings.
You're like, honey, you have Rona because the taste. Where is it?
All the WandaVision episodes that you gave like a fucking B to right now are just like, okay.
Oh, no.
Oh my god. Wait, time out. Rewind real quick. You gave a WandaVision episode a B?
He gave WandaVision finale like a C or something.
Oh, okay,
No.
that's fine. I'll let you go with that. Okay. All right.
Ian, I do know you gave more than one episode.
I gave the first episode a B because Adam was like, did you just give it a D? You gave those X-Men movies Bs. I was like, no. I gave it a B.
Oh, listen, the gradings, if anybody who's like a super nerd for Slayerfest, like we could just track all the different grades and just see how like absolutely meaningless Ian's grades are. Like, it's just like, he would be like, yes, First Class gets a B+.
I did not give that movie a B. That movie's garbage. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining us. If you like Slayerfest 98, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube and other corners of the internet. If you'd like to support us, you can support us on Patreon, which helps keep the podcast going. You get access to 3 to 4 mini episodes a month and a bonus My Bloody Judy episode. And if you want to follow us on social, we are at SlayerFestX98 on all social media platforms. I am Ian X Carlos. And Adam, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter at the Adam Sass. You can go to adamsassbooks.com to go buy my debut novel, Surrender Your Sons, and you can also see my upcoming books in 2022 there.
Ooh. Stephanie, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Twitter and Instagram at Steph_I_Will. You can also go to wisesteph.com to see what I have going on. And sometime in the very, very early fall, late summer, I've got a little Wonder Woman and Nubia story coming out in Wonder Woman's Black and Gold.
Yay.
Aaron, where can everyone find you?
Yes, you can find me at magical.poppy on Instagram and Twitter. Yeah, that's it for me.
And Ryan, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Broderick on Twitter. I write the Garbage Day newsletter, which is garbageday.email. And I do a podcast, which is you can find on Twitter at The Content Minds.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.